Alright guys, good afternoon and welcome to another technical analysis update. Today is the 25th of July 2022 and it's just gone 3:30 in the afternoon here in the UK. So we start off by checking first of all that the audio and audio and visual is working. Just double check that. And everything seems to be working fine. So yeah, we start off here with the cryptocurrency heat map. As you can see, the great majority of it is in the red, with a few exceptions. There's very few exceptions actually, just a few that are in the green here, but the great majority of it is in the red. So a nice healthy pullback after last week's pump. On the stock market, you can see that it's a mixed bag. A few are in the red, a few are in the green, and some are also neutral within sort of like 1%. So nothing really special here on the stock market. But let's have a look at the calendar. This week is going to be a big week. So today, the only thing that was coming out of the US is the consumer confidence, so conference board. And this is basically just a survey on households. So I think there's a few sort of earnings as well being advertised this or published this week. Namely, tomorrow, Tuesday, the Alphabet earnings. And if you don't know, Alphabet is the Google parent company. There's Microsoft earnings as well. And then on Wednesday is the big day. We've got the FOMC statement and basically the Fed interest rates decision at around about 6 p.m. UTC, so 7 p.m. here in the UK. Now, the expected hike should be around about 75 basis points, and that's basically 0.75% of interest rates hike. So that's kind of priced in already into the market. Anything above that is bearish because is above the expectation. So the expected rate, like I said, is 75 basis points. Anything below that will be bullish. Anything above that will be bearish. Now, that's kind of just the way it works. Like I said, I think the 75 basis points are already priced in. Potentially even the 100 basis points, but I wouldn't trust it so much. So if it does come out because the CPI was quite high, the rate of inflation was really high. So if it comes out that the Federal Reserve is going to hike interest rates a little bit higher than projected, just to tackle that sort of that inflation, then this could potentially cause a lot of volatility to the downside. But like I said, the expected rate is 75 basis points, and we'll just have to keep an eye on that for Wednesday. I'll try and do the TA update nice and early so that you guys are in time for this. But yeah, anything above 75 basis points could be bearish. So just please pay attention to that. And then we'll have the press conference as well on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we've also got the second quarter GDP, which is gross domestic product. And this is the first print of the year for the second quarter. So basically the expected rate, the forecast is 0.5. But again, this could cause volatility because we do expect that things are a little bit uglier than what they sort of advertise. So we could see potentially a really, really volatile week. We've also got here on Friday the core PCE, which is a little bit like the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, but it's more to do with goods and products rather than services. So I think that it's goods and services rather than products. Purchased by consumers excluding food and energy. So this is also a cause for concern because again, anything above the forecast rate, then it could cause extreme volatility. So we've got a very busy week here and it does look like things could get volatile after Wednesday. So it's only natural to think that sort of leading up to that there will be a little bit of volatility with people sort of unloading their positions. As we've had quite a sort of a bullish week last week. So people might be taking profits or unloading their positions and unwinding in expectation or in anticipation of what might happen with the FOMC statement. So we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, I'll do a technical analysis update on Wednesday and we'll focus mainly and primarily on the S&P and on Bitcoin so that we can keep ahead of that. But like I said, Wednesday is a big day. There's also some, like I said, there's a few earnings being published. Like I said already, on Tuesday there'll be Alphabet and Microsoft, and then also on Wednesday there's the Meta earnings, which is Facebook obviously, and then we've got the Amazon and Apple earnings on Thursday. So you know, the week is looking like it's going to be a volatile one, so just keep that in mind. So let's look straight at the charts, and we start here with the S&P and Bitcoin correlation chart, and I'm looking at the 1 hour chart here, and the S&P is the blue line, the orange line is Bitcoin, of course, and you can see that there's a little bit of a divergence here with Bitcoin sort of printing lower highs and lower lows, whilst the S&P is still printing higher highs. Well, it's printed a lower high, but not really a lower low just yet. Okay, so we've had a little bit of a pullback here on the S&P, as you can see here on the 1 hour, but Bitcoin is definitely looking a little bit more bearish. So this could be like potentially a start, as we've seen Bitcoin leading price before. So for example, here we've had a nice big drop on Bitcoin, and then the S&P followed. So it's not always the S&P leading. Sometimes is Bitcoin leading as well. So like we've seen here, we've seen a nice surge to the upside here on Bitcoin, whilst the S&P was still going down, but then the S&P followed. So there are kind of potentially there are kind of like little reversal signs here in the making. But let's have a look at the proper chart on S&P and just see what we can see. So here on the weekly chart, you can see that we basically tapped that level that I've been talking about for quite some time here, which is around about 4,000 points, which is this low volume area. And of course, we got capped there. So this was resistance. I had been saying that for quite some time, so you guys knew that we were approaching resistance, and I hope you positioned yourselves accordingly. So now what remains to be seen is if this value area low of the 2021 VWAP, which was basically resistance once we got below it, right? So for quite a few weeks here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, the price was capped around about here. So this now has to hold as support. Okay, so this is basically more or less right about where this high volume node is, and this is around about 3,920 points. So this has to hold as support if the price does indeed come all the way back down here. There's no guarantee that it will, but if it does, it has to hold as support. Okay, if we get below this area here again, then I'm afraid that that was it. This was the bear market rally, and we're going to print new lows. Quite simply that, right? Of course, if we bounce here, or if we just reverse here and we manage to get above this low volume area and sort of like manage to get above this little line here that you see on the chart. So let me just make this a little bit bigger. So you can see here the blue line is basically the value area low of the developing years VWAP, okay, the 2022 VWAP. So if we manage to get above this here, which will be basically right on the edge of this high volume cluster, right? The price needs to hold above that in order for us to have a chance of breaking market structure. So on the weekly, you can see that basically we've been printing, that was a high, that was a low. We printed a lower high, a lower low, lower high, lower low, and basically a lower high again, unless we break above this market, this previous high here, okay? Like I said before, and I said to you guys all of last week, this is an important level. As you can see, this is the 2021 VWAP close, and you know, breaking above this, even if we get stopped here at the 2022 VWAP, it's not a big deal. That's definitely a change in market structure, and then all we would have to wait for confirmation and entry for a long is basically a pullback all the way to the value area low of 2022, and that would have to hold. Okay, so it would look something like this. It would look something like this. Basically go all the way up here, maybe get capped to there. That means breaking market structure there. And then either a shallow pullback and continue upwards, or a deeper pullback, come all the way back down to the value area low, test this low volume area here around about 4,100 points as support, and then continue upwards. So that's basically key. But of course, there's no guarantee that we can even get back above this previous high here, okay? This is still resistance until proven otherwise. I'm just giving you the scenario that if we do break above it, of what to expect, right? So again, this is a key level here. We need to break above that to break market structure on the higher time frame. If we do so, then we'll most likely get capped here at the 2022 VWAP, and then we'll just have to wait for the pullback to hunt for a long position. Okay, that's if you guys are trading the S&P, of course, or the ES mini. So that's the targets for the upside if we do indeed go to the upside. Of course, acceptance above this low volume area here, meaning that if we go all the way up there and then come back here, it's very bullish, and that would be definitely a change in terms of market structure on the higher time frames, which means that we could potentially be going all the way up here once we've managed to get above this yearly VWAP, which is sitting at around about 4,280 points. Okay, that means that we would go back to 4,500 points. It is possible, but you know, we're still in a bear trend. There's no two ways about it. Okay, we're still printing lower highs and lower lows, and until we actually break this previous high here, we're still in a bear trend. So if they say, like they say, the trend is your friend. So you know, you could imagine that this is now the previous high, and if we're going lower, like I said at the beginning of this level here has to hold, which is around about 3,900 points. If it doesn't hold, then the next low will be way down here, around about 3,600 points. Okay, so let me just do a better cross here. 3,600 points, which would be just below this low here, right? Which is also the value area high of the 2020 VWAP. And of course, if we could continue lower, much lower below that, then the next level that to watch out for is round about where the 2020 VWAP closed, which is around about 3,280 points. So let's say 3,300 points, just because of this high volume cluster here, right? So these are the levels that you want to watch for the upside or the downside, but we're basically at a crossroads here, right? So this is definitely bullish as we've broken these previous highs. We broke above the weekly resistance, but we need to see now if this will hold as support or not. It's very much the same case for Bitcoin. On the let me just sort of delete that. On the sort of the lower time frames on the daily, you can see very much the same scenario here. These highs have not got taken out. There's the quarterly VWAP here around about 4,080 points. We've not managed to even get there yet. And if this is anything to go by, and you look at this daily chart, you know, this was previous highs. We swept above the highs and then we dumped, right? This was a previous high. We swept above the high and then we dumped, right? This was a previous high. We swept above the highs and then we dumped. This was previous highs of resistance. We swept above the highs, and now are we going to dump again? Potentially, right? So there's no guarantee that this is a change in market structure or a change in dynamic, that we're now in a bull market. We're most definitely are not in a bull market, especially with all this talk about recession and everything. So we'll just have to keep an eye on this. On the 4-hour chart here on the S&P, you can see basically exactly what we've been talking about. Basically these highs here got taken out, which is bullish. We're above the previous month's VWAP here, which had perfect confluence with the previous month's value area. Okay, so this was the previous month VWAP close. This was the value area high, this was the value area low, and you can see the value area low had basically the same. So this is actually from from May, and then the June acted as resistance, as you can see here, which is also the June VWAP. And now we've got a monthly close here that we couldn't get past, and we've just managed to get past it again. Okay, so the target potentially could be, like I said, around about 4,100 points, but we need to see if this will hold here, 3,900. Okay, so that's basically what I'm seeing here on the S&P. So again, I've given you the higher time frame, and the sort of the lower time frame just kind of all lines up as well. We want to look for this level here for support. If that doesn't hold, then basically we're rotational back inside of this month's value, right? And we'll be looking at perhaps coming all the way back down here to the monthly VWAP, or much lower to around about 3,700, 3,600 points. Okay, so that's basically the S&P. Now, with that out of the way, let's have a look at Bitcoin. And looking, I'll start here with the weekly. Looking at the weekly, we've printed another, there it is here, another weekly level here. Basically, we broke above the previous weekly levels here, right? So this was weekly resistance here, this level at $21,022. We broke above it, we pumped all the way to $24,300, and then we closed the weekly around about here. So that's the weekly close at around about $22,600. Okay, now it looks like we're going lower. So the same thing applies in the sense that if this level here was previous resistance, it wants to hold as support, right? So we're looking at $21,000 as support. Okay, if the price gets below this, then I'm afraid we're going a lot lower, right about $19,300, potentially even lower. But you know, this weekly level here wants to hold as support. I've got a feeling that perhaps we won't go as low as that just yet, but we'll have to wait and see. With all this volatility coming this week, anything is possible, right? But essentially, for us to be bullish, we want to be back above $22,500. It's as simple as that here on the weekly chart, okay? We want to regain this weekly level here for a potential pump all the way to the next weekly level, which is around about $29,000, okay? So that's on the weekly chart. Let's have a look here at the daily. And on the daily chart, you can see what I'm talking about here. So this is basically the weekly level. We've got another weekly level down here, which lines up more or less with the quarterly VWAP. Now, we've got the previous highs, right? The previous highs is around about here. And that's exactly where we are right now, okay? So this kind of wants to hold as support. If it does not hold as support here, then I'm afraid that we're back inside of this range. And if it does something like this, then I'm afraid it's going to go back inside the range and go to the range lows, okay? So this is even more visible or perhaps easier to see on the 4-hour chart. So let me just take these weekly levels off and just make the 4-hour chart with a monthly VWAP a little bit bigger so that you guys can see. So basically what I've got is a fixed range volume profile here for the whole of the range. You can see that this is basically the value area high, which is previous resistance, and we've got the value area low way down here, which is previous support, right? So this previous resistance, we broke above it, we confirmed it as support, and then we rallied, right? So now we kind of like came all the way back down here again, and here we are basically at previous resistance, which should be holding as support, right? If it doesn't hold as support, like I said, basically a little sweep below like this, and then going back to that resistance that confirms indeed that it is resistance, means that we're going to go much lower, okay? So we're looking at round about, well, potentially there's a monthly VWAP there, there's a weekly level at round about $21,000, which is round about here where the monthly VWAP is, right? So round about there. So that's that weekly level there and the monthly VWAP. And if we do a sweep like this and go straight back above $21,800, then that's great. Then I think that's a long position, and I think we're going to go much higher, okay? But essentially what we want to be doing is we want to be above this rectangle here, okay? So we want to be above the previous month value area here, right? So you could see this the whole range. This was resistance, and now we're very close to that range high there, okay? So essentially this here wants to be support here, right? Wrong tool. This here wants to be support. Okay, so I'm long here, by the way, but I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I am in a long position here. I do think that we've got a little bit of room for a little sweep below before we actually rally higher. But so my stop loss is a little bit wide, and therefore my position is small. But I'll be happy to add to my position if indeed this is confirmed. However, if we go below like this and then get to this level, 21,800, 22,000, and confirm that this is indeed resistance, I will be definitely getting out of my long position. I'll getting into a short, and I'll be targeting this level here around about 21k, 20,500 as the next target, and potentially and ultimately around about $19,600, okay, which is where this low volume node is, okay? In kind of like on the grand scale of things, we just take the rectangle off. If I was to put a parallel channel here, and you can see that this kind of works, right? So this is a tap of the highs, tap of the highs, tap of the highs there. We kind of deviated above, came back inside it, confirmed that this is indeed resistance, and now we're at the midpoint here, right? We've got tap of the lows, tap of the lows, tap of the lows. So this is basically a well-confirmed trend parallel channel, excuse me. So again, if we break below this area here, which has got plenty of confluence with the other range high with the parallel channel, the horizontal parallel channel. If we go below there, then it's only natural that we go and revisit the other side of this parallel channel, right? And guess where it lands? Is exactly round about $19,700, okay, $19,800, which is very close to this low volume area here. So again, we're looking at sort of like back to the range lows if we do get accepted back inside of this range here. So we just have to be a little bit cautious and kind of watch out for this kind of volatility that we've got incoming, and just see what happens. It's kind of this week, right? So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's basically it on Bitcoin. Get accepted back below the level that we're at right now, and I think an acceptance means like a 4-hour or a daily close below this level, right? So that means almost certainly that this level would now become resistance and we're going to go much lower. However, if we do not get accepted there, and if we kind of like rally here, or even if we just go a little bit higher here, then I would be more inclined to take long positions, despite what the volatility says for this week. Okay, it just means that this range is being respected and that the range high, which was previous resistance, is now acting as support. That's a long all day long for me. Okay, so that's basically what I'm seeing here. In terms of the weekly VWAP and on the 30-minute chart, it doesn't look as great, to be fair, right? You can see that here basically we got rejected off the value area high of the weekly, right? We fell below the weekly VWAP, came back, retested it, confirmed that as resistance, and then we rotated all the way back down to the value area low of the weekly. Then we rallied all the way to the weekly VWAP here, right? We could not get above it, we faked above it, and then we came down below. So this is basically rejecting us at value, right, at the weekly value. Now, of course, we're now in a different week, but we've left a VWAP close right about here, the weekly VWAP and the daily VWAP, that are basically naked and untapped. Okay, so we got potentially some anomalies up to the upside that we could be correcting. But this here is significant resistance here, around about $22,000, because it is, I mean, obviously we've already been rejected here on the weekly VWAP, but this is the previous value area low for the weekly. And to be fair, it's not looking too clever right now. We couldn't even get above this weekly, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens here. At the moment, it does look like we're being rejected here, even though there's high delta negative here, trying to push us lower, and yet the price is not going lower. So this could potentially be absorption, but we'll have to look at Exocharts for that. But yeah, so you guys see basically what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at this level here as potential support. If we do not find support here, then I'm afraid we are going to go much lower. Okay, so that's all I can see here on the Bitcoin chart. Let's have a look at Exocharts and see what we've got panning out. So let's start with the weekly volume profile. Now, from the weekly volume profile, you can see that we've left quite a few anomalies above us. Okay, we've left a naked point of control at around about $23,800, and another one at around about $23,500, and yet another one at around about $22,750. Okay, so we've got some naked points of control above us, but we do have another naked point of control down here sticking out like a sore thumb all the way down at $19,750. Okay, which is again very close to that low volume area that I was saying at the bottom of the range, right? So it doesn't matter if you look at it as a parallel channel. So I don't know if you remember, I was showing you on the candlesticks, we had a parallel channel sort of looking like this, something like that. It was probably a little bit lower. So a parallel channel looking more or less like that. And of course, if the price does come all the way back down here, right, there's something like this, comes all the way back down here, the bottom of the channel is exactly where this naked point of control is. Okay, so we've got that one there, which is definitely one of interest if we do accept below this range, right? And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's the diagonal parallel channel or if we're looking at the horizontal channel here as a previous range, right? Acceptance below means almost certainly that we're going to go and test this level here and potentially even take out this poor low that we've been talking about for quite a few weeks now. Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying, but we did leave some anomalies above, which is a little bit encouraging and means that we could potentially be going higher before we go. Even if we go much lower, we could potentially be going higher first. On the weekly volume profile, we've left a naked point of control just above us at around about $22,600. And we've got that naked point of control way down here at 19,700, which is the one that I was talking about. Okay, so that's the two closest naked points of control that we've got here, this one and this one here. Of course, if we go much higher, then 30,000 is the next naked point of control. We have a look at, let's have a look at the market profile, because here we get to see a little bit more objectively what's going on, right? So like I said to you guys, we've got some anomalies to the upside, but we've also got some anomalies to the downside. Okay, so we've got a naked point of control here around about $23,800. We've also got a naked point of control and a session VWAP close that is untapped at round about $23,130. Okay, so the price is currently around about 21,800, and you know, we're kind of like really close to this delta negative. Basically all the trapped shorts that were down here, it looks like we've kind of gone like a little bit below and it wants to reach lower. So we've also got some trapped shorts round about here, around about 21,200. The problem with that, in my personal opinion, is that we're already very close to the monthly VWAP, which is round about there, 21,200, and that would mean that we are back inside of that range, okay, that I was talking to you about on the candlestick charts. So we've got quite a few anomalies to the downside. We've got a whole series of poor lows, okay, so we've got this here is a poor low, and here and here we've also got a VWAP close, a session VWAP close that is untapped. In fact, we've got a couple all the way down here as well, 19,600. We've got one at 20,150, and we've got a naked point of control, like I said, at 19,750, 19,800, something like that. Okay, so we've got loads of anomalies to the downside, including that very obvious one, which is this one here with no excess, which is a poor low sitting at round about 17,600. But let's not talk about that just yet, because we trade level to level. There's no point of talking about that whilst we're still up here. So again, like I was saying, acceptance below this, below 21,700 means almost certainly that we're going to take the anomalies below. However, if we do not get accepted there and we get rejected time and time again from this level of support at around about 21,800 to $22,000, then I think that we're going to take these levels up here, right? And we go back to the highs, all right? And then potentially we could be going all the way up to around about this level here, $27,000, where we've got some more naked points of control and some VWAP closes that have been untapped, right? It goes all the way to 29,500. But you know, there's no saying which way in which direction we go. But again, if we were to kind of like draw the levels like we did on the candlestick charts, and we put sort of like a rectangle here for a range, right? You can see that the price is already kind of tapped here below, swept below, and we kind of got above it again. So potentially here, this could be a long, and we'd be targeting this level here, and potentially even these up here, right? But we're not too sure about that. That's exactly the same thing that I'm seeing here on the market profile. Let me see if I've forgotten anything. In terms of more anomalies to the upside rather than just naked points of control, I think we do have a poor high. Where is it? Yeah, right above there at the top at $24,270. That's a poor high. There's no excess on that. So we could potentially be taking all that, right? So there's no saying in which direction this is going to go, but at least now you've got some levels, okay? So we want to stay above this level here. And obviously, if you're a bull, in this case, you want to be staying above this, and you want to be targeting these levels here for potentially going all the way to 28,500. If, however, you are a bear, you want to see this fail here, and then go and test a monthly VWAP, and here show some weakness so that it goes much lower, okay? Because again, potentially what this could do, and I showed you this already on the candlesticks, but I'll show you here again. What this could do is actually do a fake to the lows. So let's say that we've got the range here, right? Something like that. We could come all the way down here, do a wick to the downside, and bounce on this monthly VWAP, get acceptance above, and meaning that we get rejected from these lows down here, get acceptance above 21,800, and then continue higher and leave all these guys trapped down here. So we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. All right, that monthly VWAP, like I said, lines up perfectly with where this delta negative here, where these guys, the short traders, are trapped here, round about here, right? So this lines perfectly with the monthly VWAP. So if we were going to do a quick wick to the downside and sort of like trap a few more bears, that would be the area for a bounce, right? So $21,200. I'm not sure if that's going to pan out or not, but at least you've got some levels there to pay attention. So don't be going short if we go all the way down here, because we could bounce again, right? The better short is if we go all the way down here and then get to 21,800 and cannot get back above it. That's a short entry, and then we're going to go much lower. Okay, so essentially what I was talking about here on the 4-hour chart, which is doing something like this, going all the way down here to the monthly VWAP, and then when it comes all the way back here, it cannot get back above that, right? And then this here is essentially your short position. Don't go chasing shorts down here, okay? You're too late there, and there's potentially a bounce coming. So that's essentially it for Bitcoin, right? So with that out of the way, let's move on to Ethereum, because we don't want to be taking too long doing this. So I hope you guys are clear on this. And on Ethereum USD, we start here with the weekly chart as well. And it looks really promising, okay? It's been outperforming Bitcoin considerably, right? So this is the 2021 VWAP and the value area low just right here for 2021, okay? You can see that the 2022 VWAP, value area low, this is the 2022 VWAP, this is the value area low, with this is a squiggly line here, blue line, right? As you can see there. Has perfect confluence with the 2021 value area low as well. Now, we pumped above this, we've come and tested this now, and it looks like it's holding as support. If that's the case, this is a perfect bullish retest, right? And that means that we're almost certainly going to the yearly VWAP at around about $2,200. Okay, so we'll have to look at the lower time frames and see what other levels we've got there, but that's essentially what I'm seeing here. In terms of the weekly, this is looking very, very bullish for Ethereum. It would have to basically get back below this weekly level here, which was previous resistance, around about $1,200, in order for me to be for confirmation that we're going lower, basically. Not for me to be bearish, but you know. So let's just simplify this. Okay, now we've got a weekly level here. All right, around about $1,595. Let's say $1,600. That's a weekly level because that's basically where last week closed, right? And we're now below it. Okay, so a bullish case scenario for Ethereum is basically breaking back above this. If we break above $1,600, then I think we've got potential to going all the way to $2,200. However, if we do not do that, the next weekly level that I'd be looking for is around about here, because that's where previous resistance was, right? And that's basically the last weekly down close here, right? So we've got potentially a range forming here between $1,200 and $1,600. All right, so you know it's quite a big range there, but it is what it is. If I look at this is on Coinbase, but if I look at this on Bybit, I've got some levels that I've already kind of highlighted. So on Coinbase, you can see that there's a divergence in price. It does look like we've accepted inside the value area low here, right? So it's looking a lot more bullish on Coinbase, and this is obviously the spot market. However, if we look at Bybit, it paints a different story. On Bybit, it does look like we've come and tested this value area low, and we got rejected there, right there. Okay, but the scenario is still the same. This is the previous level of resistance, which should now be support. So it's around about $1,200 as well. $1,600 still resistance, $1,200 still support. So we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. But at the moment, it's looking very, very bullish for Ethereum. And I'm just going to show you some balance areas here, which is basically what we always do in terms of volume profile here. Right, so you can see the volume profile here on the right. These rectangles are just basically the edges of the high volume clusters, right? So I've got them in different colors so that you guys can identify and it's easier for me to explain, right? So you can see that we basically tested and deviated below the red rectangle here of this low volume, high volume cluster, right? We tested below that, we kind of bounced, so deviated below, bounced and went all the way to the purple rectangle there, which is this high volume cluster here, right? And we came back inside it like this, and now we're testing the edge of it. So essentially what we want to see is we want to see acceptance back above $1,400. All right, even though this is a higher time frame, just bear with me to try and explain. Basically, this is a high volume cluster. This is yet another high volume cluster. We're kind of like testing the edge of it now. Acceptance inside the upper edge, or the upper balance, means that we bounce here or we get rejected from the lower one. Okay, so we either bounce here at $1,500 or we bounce at $1,400 if we're going higher. And the target for that would be round about here. Like I said, $2,000, $2,200, something like that. All right. However, if we do find acceptance below here, and I'll put this on the daily chart here. If we do find acceptance back inside of this red rectangle here, this high volume cluster, then this level here will be resistance now. And we're likely to go and test basically this previous range high here, around about $1,200, and potentially even lower, all the way down to $900. Okay, so it really depends on what Bitcoin does, because as you know, Ethereum and Bitcoin are very highly correlated, and you know, whatever Bitcoin does, Ethereum does. Okay, so sometimes Ethereum does it better, which is clearly what's been happening here. But yeah, so it does look like we're finding acceptance above here, right? Look at this. It's tested it many, many times now. But one thing that I've known about markets is that when we hang around support, or when we hang around resistance and we hover there for quite some time, we tend to break it. Okay, so it's not good that we're hanging around here for too long, because potentially we could break this to the downside. But the key level is this one here, around about $1,400. We want to break above that and get rejected from this lower balance. All right, so that's basically what I'm seeing here on Ethereum versus USD. Now, if I put this on the 4-hour chart, it becomes a little bit clearer. Okay, so you can see here we've got a low volume area around about $1,400. So even if the price comes all the way down here, it wants to get rejected there if you're a bull. Okay, price might sweep these lows. Of course it might, right? It might sweep it like this, but then the important thing is that we get rejected from this value and we get back inside of this one. Okay, and if that's the case, then we're definitely going to this level here, around about $2,000. However, let's say that we come all the way down here, and then when it comes to getting to these highs here, we get rejected. We cannot get back acceptance back inside of this range here, of the purple range. Well, in that case, that's a short position there, and we're going to go much lower and back inside of this range here. That's what I was saying on the higher time frames, and now you can see it on the lower time frame as well, right? So I hope that kind of makes it clear, and I'm going to take those balance areas out now, just so that you guys can make a little bit more sense of the VWAPs here. So so in terms of the yearly VWAP, which is this one here, right, you can see here on Bybit that it does look like we've got rejected here from the value area low. So that's a rejection there. However, it does look like we've got accepted inside the previous quarter value. Okay, so this is the value area low of the previous quarterly VWAP, right? And we got accepted above it. Okay, we're still hovering there. Yes, of course, we're still hovering there, but we're still above it, right? However, if you look here on the 4-hour chart, you can see that the previous month's value area high, which was this level here, this is the VWAP here, the previous month. This is the value area low. We could not break above the previous month's value area high. Right? So obviously it's a little bit extended here. It needs a correction. So now what remains to be seen is, are we going to accept inside this month's value area? Right? So this is the value area high. This is the value area low. Are we going to get back inside of that value area and perhaps test even the previous month's and the current month's VWAP, which are lined up perfectly around about $1,300? Or are we actually going to carry on higher? That's the big question, right? So like I said, even if there's a pullback to the downside, we want to see a sharp move to the upside again in order for us to go higher. If it comes all the way down here and then it cannot get back above $1,400, which is where that low volume node is, and the edge of the balance area, etc., then it means we're going to go lower. It's as simple as that. And we'll be targeting these levels down here around about $1,000, okay? Potentially right about here, $1,120 first. But yeah, that's essentially it. You can see that, you know, there's quite a big rally from the previous value area low to the previous value area high. All right, so this is quite a big sort of extension here. So it's only natural that we're finding resistance here, but we're not seeing any sort of like, we didn't, you know, this is previous support. We didn't quite get there to that resistance there, right about $1,700. We didn't quite get there, but because we got stopped at this value area high. But you know, we've got potential to go to the upside, but we've also got potential to go to the downside, especially after a rally like this. So we'll just have to observe and see what happens this week with all the volatility coming. Okay, so that's it. That's on the 4-hour chart with the monthly view up. On the weekly, we're just kind of rotational inside it. Okay, so you can see this is the previous week. Just put this on the 1 hour, just so it becomes a little bit more visible. Can see we deviated above the value area high. We came back and tested the VWAP. Same again here, we tested the VWAP. Same again there, we tested the VWAP, came all the way back down to the other side. But what happens there? We deviate below it. Deviate below it, it goes all the way to the highs there, right? And again, we deviated above the value, so it comes back to the VWAP, right? Then, and more importantly, is when it starts getting interesting here. We bounce on the weekly VWAP, come all the way to the value area high. We get rejected there. So we're rotational back inside of this value. You can see that, right? So this is the value area low, this is the value area high, and we're rotational inside it. Here we deviated above it significantly, and then here we got accepted back below. Okay, so now we're getting rejected here at the weekly VWAP, but we've not tested this low here, around about $1,480. So we could potentially see the price going all the way down there, first and foremost. Now, it would be nice to see a nice deviation, so like a sort of like a deviation like this, a sweep of the lows like that, and then get straight back inside it again. And then obviously we'd be targeting these levels that appear. But we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, there's so much at stake right now. Especially with us being so close to resistance here, right? So the value area low of this weekly lines up perfectly with the lows that we are right now, which is basically the value area high of the monthly, right about here. Okay, so this is the value area high of the monthly, and the value area low of the weekly is right about there of the previous week. All right, so you know, we're kind of like sort of we're overextended. We're at key levels of resistance. The S&P is at key levels of resistance, which in turn will kind of stump Bitcoin. And of course, if Bitcoin stumped, so is Ethereum. Although Ethereum is holding up pretty well. That's the long and the short of it, basically. All right. So let's move on to Exocharts and see if we can spot any confluence with the levels here for Ethereum. Now start with the volume profile. Now, a significant level of resistance that I was planning or that I was looking for is this level here, right? So this is previous level of support, and right about $1,700 would be a serious level of resistance, but of course it got front run. Now, will we sweep those highs and then fall back lower again? Or will we actually break above this previous level of resistance and stay above it? Okay, so that's the big question. Of course, we've left some anomalies to the downside. We've got some naked points of control all the way down at $1,038 and another one at $1,080. There is another naked point of control round about here as well at $2,000. So we'll just have to wait and see. The encouraging thing that I'm seeing here on the volume profile is these points of control. These naked points of control moving up. Okay, so it seems like value is being accepted above, right? So of course there's a naked point of control here, sorry, just a point of control, it's not naked, but a point of control all the way up here, and with significant shift all the way down here again. But you can see the previous point of control here, right? So there's one here, this one's higher, this one's higher, and this one's higher yet again. Okay, so that's significant in my opinion, but you know, is it significant enough to hold it as support? That's basically the big question, right? So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the other thing that is quite curious that I wanted to show you is if I was to draw a rectangle here from this range, right, you can see this whole range point of control at around about $1,220. Okay, this point of control has almost perfect confluence with the high of this range, with the previous resistance level. So just like on Bitcoin, even if we were to see Ethereum come all the way down here, as long as it kind of rallies from here, it doesn't just get accepted below that line, right? Even if it comes all the way down here and starts sort of like doing this, then a sweep of that and then straight back above, that's bullish and that's a long position, right? However, anything below here and then failure to get above, that's definitely bearish, and this is a short position and it will be targeting all the way down here, especially these naked points of control down there. Okay, so that's basically how I'm seeing this. That's on the volume profile. If we look at the market profile, we should get a little bit more of a hindsight into, or insight into where the poor highs are, if there's any excess or anything like that. Okay, so in terms of anomalies to the upside, there is a naked point of control all the way up here, $1,940. Okay, there's a single print that we couldn't take, but we've pretty much cleared all the highs. Okay, so that was a poor high there. We've cleared that, and all the highs here have no excess. So they're all decent highs here. However, to the downside, it's not the same. We've got a poor low here. We've got a poor low down here. Plenty of poor lows down here and here as well, okay? And then we've got all of these single prints and naked points of control all the way to $1,000, all right? So we'll just have to wait and see. Again, $1,200, $1,300 is a level, a key level, okay, which is basically where this previous resistance was, right? So we kind of want to stay above this level here, around about $1,280. All right, even if there's a significant pullback on Ethereum. This is the perfect entry for a long position, as long as we don't accept below. Okay, so just very much the same scenario as we were talking about on Bitcoin. So that is it for Ethereum versus BTC. I suppose we could have a look at Exocharts here on footprint. Let's have a look at the footprint, I guess. Oh no, so it's down here for Ethereum. It's a typical mousetrap setup where basically we print some lows, everybody's looking at these lows, we sweep the lows, bounce here on this line, which for some reason is telling me that's the monthly VWAP. I don't think it is, but bounce here, and then we confirm that this previous level is now support, and then we rally. Okay, so obviously we're being stumped here by the daily and the weekly VWAPs. Okay, and I've also got a anchored VWAP here that should cause resistance around about $1,600, but I'm overcomplicating things too much, so I think I'm just going to leave this. But there's a nice little mousetrap setup there where basically we just form some lows here, right? And then we sweep those lows, everybody goes short, and then as soon as everybody goes short, then the market rallies. All right, so I don't want to overcomplicate things too much, so let's just keep it nice and short. Right, so that's basically Ethereum versus USD. Now we move on to Ethereum versus BTC and just check how strong that looks still. Okay, so as you can see on Ethereum BTC, it's outperforming it considerably, right? We came all the way to that level of resistance, and this was significant resistance, right? This is a previous value area high here, so the 2021 VWAP value area high, sorry. I'll restart this. This is the 2021 value area high. It's also the developing years 2022 VWAP right here. There is also a trend line that comes all the way from June 2021 that has been respected again and again and again as support. And we confirm this now as resistance, right? So we want to be breaking above this. The only thing, it does look bearish, right? It does look like we've just been, if I take the VWAP off, this looks like a perfect retest of a trend line, right? So we lost that trend line, we come back, retest it, and then we go much lower. That is possible, yes. But by looking at the VWAPs here, I'm not entirely convinced, because we are above this year's VWAP. All right, so this level here, around about 68,000 sats, potentially even 67,000 sats, right? A little bit lower or whatever, should act as support. Okay, now if this level holds as support, then I think we're going to go much higher, and I'm looking at this level up here, 74,000 sats, and potentially even higher, round about 81,000 sats as the next level of resistance. Okay, so looking at those levels like that, if we can hold above this yearly VWAP, if we can't hold above that yearly VWAP, then I'm afraid that ultimately the target will be all the way down here, which is the 2020 VWAP. But there are some levels of support in between as well. Okay, so this here I'm going to put it as orange. That's an orange line which should hold as support, right? You can see that it's very close as well to this low volume area here. So we could potentially come all the way down here like this and then just rally. So just be careful here, right, with shorts. However, if we get below this yearly VWAP and then cannot get back above it and it starts rolling over, that's a short position, and we'll be targeting this level here around about 63,000 sats, potentially 58 or 60,000 sats, and maybe even lower at 55,000 sats. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing here on Ethereum versus BTC. At the moment, like I said, it does look bearish because we kind of tested this trend line, which is a lot of people going to be looking at that and thinking, okay, that's just basically a bearish retest of the trend line and we're going to go much lower. Yes, that could potentially be right, but we are still above the yearly VWAP, and I don't like taking shorts above the yearly VWAP. It's as simple as that, unless it's a scalp, right? So you want to be looking around about 68, 69,000 sats as potential support, around about this line here. Okay, so that's on Ethereum versus BTC. And on the lower time frames is very much the same thing, right? I could just take all of these lines off. So we're above the monthly VWAP, we're above the quarterly VWAP, we just lost the weekly, but this today the weekly VWAP is basically the same as the daily VWAP because today is Monday. But we're definitely above the previous weeks, as you can see here. This is the previous week value area high, previous week value area low, and this is where the VWAP closed, the weekly VWAP closed down here, right, around about 68,000 sats. So we are above the previous week VWAP, above the monthly, and above the quarterly as well, and above the yearly. So it's very bullish for Ethereum versus BTC, and I wouldn't be betting against it unless we lose this level here around about 68,000 sats. Okay, so that's basically it for Ethereum versus BTC. Now, looking at the chart here, it tells me that Ethereum's been outperforming Bitcoin. So there's no point of me charting any altcoins based on Bitcoin. I'm going to be charting all of the altcoins based on Ethereum or against Ethereum, because obviously that's the one that's been outperforming and performing better, if you like. So we start here with the FODL trading pairs, and we start with FODL versus USDT, and that's put this on the daily chart here. FODL versus Tether on OkEx. So FODL is basically just still, let me just take some of these brush marks off. Still printing lower highs and lower lows, okay? So this is still in a bear kind of scenario. But as you can see, it's not as aggressive to the downside. Its price is kind of stabilized and it's going sideways here. There's a little accumulation cylinder going on here on the daily. I can put this on the 12-hour chart, so you can see here. So there's basically quite a lot of buying going on here. And this will probably be visible with a volume tool. Let me just yeah, there's quite a lot of selling here, as you can see, but there's significant buying going on here and here, and therefore it's kind of creating this kind of range volume profile here. So like I said before, the real level of resistance is around about this one here, around about 2 cents, 2.5 cents. Okay, and if we break above that one, then there's just a big void in volume there, all the way to 6 cents. Okay, so this is a big trade, but again, I want to see this kind of start breaking higher highs and higher lows. So yeah, I want to see that change in market structure before going long, because this could potentially be going a lot lower, right? So but that's basically what I'm seeing here on the 12-hour chart on FODL versus USDT. Nothing really changed other than the fact that we've kind of slowed down the momentum to the downside. Okay, so we're kind of just printing sideways, and we can see that there's a little bit of accumulation going on at these levels. All right, so that's FODL versus USDT tether. So let's have a look at FODL versus USDC. So that's on sushiswap, I believe. All right, so very much the same thing. We're seeing a little bit of a range being formed here. Price is kind of just going sideways rather than just going straight down. And in terms of volume, I think the volume here is a little bit more bearish. And yeah, you can see that there's declining selling volume, definitely. The selling has slowed down, but the great majority of the volume is sells. Okay, although we are seeing a few little glimmers of buying here. Okay, so there's potentially some slow accumulation going on there, but nothing significant yet. I want to see basically a change in market structure around about here. So take out these previous highs, go all the way up there, and even if we come all the way down here, then continue higher. That's definitely a signal that we're going to this level of resistance, potentially this one, and much higher, all the way to 6 cents, which is a previous level of support here. Okay, so that's on FODL versus USDC on sushiswap. Let's move on to FODL versus ETH, or wrapped ETH. And again, price is just going a little bit sideways than it has done for the last few hours. Put this on the daily chart so it's easier. You can see that there's a little bit of pause in momentum, but with Ethereum looking so strong, it's unsurprising that we see this kind of like losing momentum versus Ethereum, right? So it's not necessarily that people are selling FODL, it's more the fact that Ethereum is outperforming it. So that's basically it as well. I mean, we're continuing lower highs and lower lows. There's no change in market structure, and unless we break above these highs here and do something like this, there's no change in market dynamics. Okay, if we do something like that, especially this one here, right, then I'll be looking at this level here for a potential level of resistance. Okay, so moving on to BNB USD. This is Binance Coin versus USD on Binance, and we're still exactly in the same range here, right? So we're basically trading in between. This is support here, this is resistance, and we're just kind of trading around about there, $250, right? So $250 should be support, and $287, $290 should be resistance. And so therefore we trade in this range, and we do something like this until proven otherwise, right? If I look at this on the 4-hour chart, see if there's any sort of indication of where we might be going. Well, you can see that this is a previous level of resistance. We broke above it, confirmed it as support, and now we're ranging above, right? So again, nothing really changes. This is support, this here is resistance, and therefore we'll be trading here. So that's BNB versus USD. So like I said, I won't be trading versus Bitcoin, charting versus Bitcoin, because Ethereum's outperforming it, so we might as well see the better performing asset. So we start with BNB versus ETH, and we look on the daily chart here, and very much the same scenario that we saw on Friday. We've got a yield. If you missed it, I'll just run you very quickly through it. This is a 2022 VWAP. Okay, it's going to be holding as support. You can see that's perfect confluence with this low volume area here. So this should hold as support. It's a previous area of support there as well. And then this red line is a previous level of resistance. It's also a low volume node. So I do expect the price to just be ranging inside of this for high volume cluster like this. So something like that, right? So like I said, and like I already highlighted here, this arrow here is basically the range that we're at, right? So we're looking at 1746 way as resistance and 1550 way as support. Moving on to AAVE versus USD, very much the same scenario, nothing's really changed. And again, this level here, I'll leave it as yellow because it's not been confirmed as support, but should hold as support, around about $76, $75. So $75 for support, $113 as resistance. At the moment, you can see that basically the price struggled to get above $100. It's unsurprising, right? $100 is a big round number, so of course it's going to find resistance there. But the real resistance, in my personal opinion, is round about here, $113, as you can see here from the volume profile. Okay, you can see that this is previous resistance. We broke below it, broke back above here. So this is going to be the next level of resistance, in my personal opinion, around about $110. I'll adjust that, as you can see here. Just that a little bit lower, like that. Okay. So, so that's AAVE versus USD. This is support. This is resistance. And we should be trading inside of this range until proven otherwise. Okay, if we break above it, this is the next level of resistance. If we break below it, this is the next level of support. Moving on to AAVE versus ETH. Very much the same thing, although we have lost this yearly VWAP, or so it looks here. It does look like it wants to go lower. Okay, so this level is still a level of support nevertheless. Okay, so we're trading inside of this range until proven otherwise. If we lose this level, then it will look something like this. Lose the level, come back up here, and then if this level here does its job, it means that we'll hold as resistance. Previous level of support, holding as resistance means that's an entry for a short, and you'll be targeting these levels down here. Okay, so basically falling out of this range would mean that this area here would now be resistance. Okay, it's not really clear just yet because we're very, very close to it. This should be holding as support now. So this is resistance, this is support until proven otherwise. Break below it, we should be going all the way down to here. If we hold it as support, then the target will be this one here. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Compound versus USD. Now Compound's also testing support here. In fact, it's already tested it, so I'm going to put this as green now. Okay, as you can see here, the price has already tested it and it bounced from there. So this is level confirmed as support, this is resistance, and therefore we'll be trading inside this range. If for whatever reason it breaks below it, then this previous level of support here will be your next level of support. And of course, if we break above this level here at around about $60, then the next level of resistance will be all the way at $75. So significant trade there. That's around about 25% rise if we do break above resistance. Okay, so keep a close eye on that. At the moment, we are at support at around about $52, $50, something like that. Okay, big round number as well, $50. So I wouldn't bet against that. Compound versus ETH. Unsurprisingly, Compound is being outperformed by Ethereum. So I'm just going to delete all these lines here for a minute. We've lost this previous level of support here. So you can see this is it held as support before, but of course when we lost that yearly VWAP, we're now heading lower. Okay, so if you enter the trade based on what I said, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm not a financial advisor, but if you are in a trade and if you're in a short because of what I said, you're welcome. So this here is resistance, this here is support, therefore the range should be this one. Okay, lose this level of support, we're going to this one. If we break above this level of resistance here, which is a significant one because of that yearly VWAP, then that means we'll be going all the way up to there. Okay, so that's Compound versus ETH. Moving on to BAT versus USD. BAT USD, we're still inside of that range, the eternal range that we've been on for quite some time. And I think and I expect when we break out of this range, it'll be a strong impulse. So this could potentially happen this week with the strong volatility coming because of the GDP and the FOMC meetings. So here we are. This level here should be support at around about 36 cents. this level here around about 43 cents, 44 cents is resistance, and therefore this is the range. Okay, and as you can see here, it's been ranging there for quite some time. We deviated to the downside, but then we got back accepted back above, and here we are inside of this eternal range. So if we break above this range, then we go all the way to $56 here, which is previous level of support. If we break below this level of support, then we could potentially bounce here at 33 cents, right? Which is a little low volume area here in the volume. That's why I've got it as a level of support. But if that fails, then we'll be looking at this one here. The reason why this one is interesting for me, this level down here, is because everybody that's long, that's been going long on BAT, right, that enters long here, will have their stops in very obvious place, which is this one here, right? So between this line and this line here, I'll put a rectangle there in red. This is basically where all the stops are. Okay, so if we are indeed to go higher, I wouldn't be surprised to see the price doing something like this. Sweep these lows, basically take out all of these stops here, and then just move back inside of the range and target the range highs. Okay, that would be again a deviation below the range, right? When the deviation happens, it tends to mean that we go to the other side of the range, just like we've seen here, right? We deviated above, we go to the other side of the range. That's basically how it usually pans out. So just bear in mind that this level here around about 33 cents could potentially be the bounce area, right? But 36 cents is support until said otherwise, right? So between these two levels here. So that's BAT versus USD. BAT versus ETH, very much the same scenario still playing out, right? So like I said last week, you can see that once we've lost that yearly VWAP, we tested it a couple of times and we confirmed that that is indeed resistance, and so therefore we're going lower. So this level here should be support, this level here should be resistance. Losing this level here means that we go to this one. Okay, breaking above this level of resistance means we go to this one. Now on Link versus USD, chain link. So we're still inside of this range. Nothing really has changed in that aspect, right? So inside of this range that the arrow is showing, okay, this is resistance, this is support. Break below it, we go to this level of support. If we break above this level of resistance, we go to this level of resistance. Okay, just to be clear, I always just give you the levels, don't tell you which direction it's going to go, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory where it's going, right? At the moment we're going high, we had a pull back, so it looks like it wants to go higher, right? I don't want to be telling you which direction it's going to go. I just tell you which levels to trade at. Okay, there's no point of trading here in the middle, right? We're in the middle of the range. The trade is basically a long position down here at support or a short position at resistance, and that should be self-explanatory, but I just thought I'd mention it again. So that's basically Link versus USD, still basically in the range. $6.11 as support, $7.80 as resistance. Link versus ETH, it does look like we've just lost this level of support. Okay, so I'm going to put this as orange because it's unclear if we actually lost it. Okay, so we've got a big low volume node here just below us. Okay, so I doubt very much that we get below that, but if we do, the next level of support will be this one here, which is the value area low of this yearly VWAP. Okay, if however we reclaim this level here, then I believe then the next target will be this one here, and eventually all the way up here at 5,725 way. Okay, so again, still inside of this range with potentially the yearly VWAP, which is this level here, as a take profit. But as you can see here, it does look like it wants to lose this level. So we'll just have to wait and see. Will we lose it or will we keep it? I'm going to put this a little bit closer like that. Okay, so that's Link versus ETH, and finally Uniswap, Uni versus USD. We're looking at this yearly VWAP as potential resistance, or most definitely resistance, and we're looking at this previous level of resistance as the next level of support. So therefore, that's why I've got the arrow there. We're still very much inside the same range. So resistance at right about $8.10, $8.10, and support at around about $5.96, $6, let's say. Okay, so therefore we'll be trading inside of this range until proven otherwise. And so Uni versus ETH. Now Uni looks like it's outperforming ETH. Well, it does look like it's outperforming ETH here. So Uniswap's doing quite well here. So higher highs and higher lows. So that's quite good. But definitely inside the range. And this here is the next level of resistance, and this here is the next level of support. At the moment, see how we've been bouncing here on the value area high of the current year's VWAP. So that's significant, but this level here is definitely resistance. So let's just wait and see. Will we go all the way up here and then turn and carry on going sideways like this, or will we break to the higher side? If we break to the high side, then this level here will be the next level of resistance. If we come all the way back down to support, then the next level of support will be way down here at the yearly VWAP, all the way down at 375 way. So with that out of the way, that's all of the altcoins covered, all the FODL trading pairs. So I hope this helps you keep on the right side of the trades. I will have another TA update for you guys on Wednesday, and I'll try and do it in the morning so that we preempt the FOMC meeting. So until then, trade smart, manage your risk properly, especially with the volatility coming this week. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.